Hello ladies, welcome back to the Confidence Club, where we are here to become our most confident and successful selves so we can manifest the life of our dreams. Today's topic is so important to cover, and I see this all the time in my coaching clients. So I just want to start this video by thanking you for signing up for our Confidence Club and being a part of this awesome community. I know that every single one of you is going to flourish and blossom into your most confident and successful selves. So today's video topic is going to help you do that. I'm going to be talking about specific person and covering why you need to stop manipulating the circumstances. So oftentimes when we are manifesting specific person, especially if we do not have a history of being in healthy relationships, or we didn't grow up with examples of healthy relationships, we might find ourselves really obsessing. We might find ourselves very attached to the relationship. We find ourselves very caught up in it, very like it takes all of our time and energy. We're just so lost in it. And if that sounds like you, it is likely because you are coming from again, childhood pattern of not having securely attached parents, not having parents who showed up for you, feeling like you are not worthy or not lovable or not good enough, feeling like you're not being valued, having to fight for your ability to be valued in your home, having to prove yourself, etc., etc. So if any of that sounds familiar, if you're aware of any of that, you're already a step ahead. And if not, if this is just the first time you're ever encountering this, you're in a really great place, because this is going to help set you free from that cycle of chasing. Now, we've all heard from law of attraction, I don't chase, I attract. And while there's some truth to that in law of assumption, really the idea is I don't chase, period. I don't chase. You don't need to work for your manifestations. You don't need to chase your specific person. You don't need to be texting them all day long. You don't need to be obsessing about who they're texting. You don't need to try to do nice things for them. You don't need to go the extra mile to get yourself done up every single time you see them, because you're afraid of what they might think if they don't see you all done up. If you are taking any type of action to manifest them, you are approaching this entirely wrong. And I know that might be harsh to hear, but we have to be honest with ourselves on this journey, or we will not make progress. So if you cannot take accountability for your actions, manifestation's not for you. If you find yourself to be really paranoid and worrisome that they are not showing up for you, that as soon as you see a sign, if they just don't text you right away, or you call them and they don't call you back right away, and your immediate thought is, oh my gosh, they don't love me. Oh my gosh, they're mad at me. We have to understand that is coming from your childhood. That is coming from wounding. Or it's very possible that you are experienced enough in life where you didn't have a bad childhood, but you had several bad experiences in relationship, and those led you to believing that you are not valued, and that your needs are not being prioritized. The other thing is overperforming. So trying to do every little thing to get this person to like you, writing them love notes and buying them, gifts, and just going out of your way to be too helpful, to be too much, to be too clingy, to be too pushy, too all-consuming with your love and affection, and not making enough time for yourself. This is one method of self-abandonment, which tends to happen in relationships where if you as a child were required to take care of your parents' needs, that's how you're going to show up in your relationship. And the sooner that we can identify these patterns, the sooner we can release that need to control. You don't have to do anything to get your specific person. You have to focus on being the person who knows their worth and value. And you can affirm and affirm and affirm, and you can input all of these new assumptions. But what happens, and I know that this is really not what a lot of you want to hear, what happens is you'll get the specific person, and then you'll chase them off. You'll get them, and then you'll self-sabotage. You'll get them, and then the fear and doubt will start to creep in, and you will lose them again. Or worse, you'll end up in a pattern of hot and cold, yo-yoing back and forth between today's a good day, everything's in harmony, and the next day we're fighting and we hate each other. And that emotional roller coaster is so traumatic to experience. I've been through it before, and it's something I want you all to avoid. So knowing that your childhood patterns and your attachment style that you grew up with is going to have an effect on you, again, self-awareness is the key here. Just because you can convince yourself that you are in a relationship does not mean that you feel worthy of that relationship. Just because you can convince yourself that your specific person loves you does not mean that you can overcome that deep-rooted fear in you that they're only going to love you so long and eventually they'll see you for who you really are and reject you or abandon you. All of these things are intertwined, and the more that we can bring those fears and patterns, habits, and I call them patterns and habits because they're not our choice. We're not consciously choosing to say, oh, I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of this positive treatment. I'm not worthy of this quality of relationship. We're not telling ourselves that, in our constant thoughts, in our normal mental diet. I mean, some of you maybe are, but for the most part, those of you watching, you're not choosing those thoughts. They might come up and you navigate them, but ultimately a lot of it is subconscious. It is the dominant programming that you picked up in your lived experience. And that's what drives you to chase. That's what drives you to try and manipulate and control the situation. Especially if you find yourself to be an anxious person, which in my experience, I've noticed more women tend to be anxious and more men tend to be avoidant. And of course we pair up. And the reason we tend to pair up is because they're so opposite that they force us to heal in order to grow in that relationship. So no hard feelings, whether you have a disorganized, anxious, or avoidant attachment style. Those are all very fixable, healable attachment styles, right? And the attachment style is not the problem. It's what the attachment style creates for you that becomes the problem, that becomes the headache, that becomes the heartbreak that we want to avoid at all costs. And if you're experiencing it now, we want to course correct. So first off, you're already so far. You're already far ahead of where you think you should be in terms of actually handling the circumstances. If you're here watching this video, if you joined this membership, you are doing more towards healing, doing more towards changing your assumptions, doing more towards growing and developing as a person than most of the population is. So go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back for that. Give yourself some love and celebrate that progress. I know it took me some time to really even recognize what attachment styles were doing in my life and doing in my relationships. And it wasn't until I reached out for support that I finally understood the impact of that and how to fix it. So again, take this moment to be proud of yourself. Now, the next step we're going to do is understand which belief is it. It could be multiple. I personally grew up with ADHD. I didn't find out until I was 25, and that was a really big struggle for me. I couldn't figure out why I was so different from people. I couldn't figure out why I always seemed to be doing things wrong and making mistakes. I couldn't figure out, as someone who is on the autism spectrum, that why do I have so many communication issues? Why is it so hard for me to read facial expressions and understand people's tone and understand how they're saying what they're saying? I find I have to ask a lot of clarifying questions, and that led to frustration from people. And that frustration really targeted my self-worth because I believed that there was something fundamentally wrong or broken with me. And because I experienced some traumatic things in my childhood at a very young age, by around age 8 is when I became self-aware enough to recognize I feel really depressed. I feel really bad about myself. I feel really bad about my home life. I feel bad about my family situation. I feel bad about how I am behaving in relation to my friendships and so on and so forth. And all that did was build for the next 17 years until I basically had a rock bottom moment of rock bottom moments. I mean, I felt like I had hit rock bottom so many times, and then it was just a full-on collapse where I said, I cannot live like this anymore. And that's really what inspired me to start my very first business as a coach. And elevate my self-concept and break out of those beliefs. And since then, I've been able to help so many women and really alter who I am as a person, which has come in very handy when it comes to improving my relationship quality, both in romantic partnerships and in business and in friendships. So know that whatever that core belief is, if it is a worthiness wound, if it is a feeling of love doesn't last, love won't stay, if it's a belief that love will stay but it has to hurt, because that's another belief that's very common, is you can be in a relationship, you can stay in a relationship, but it has to hurt you. Love is going to hurt you. Love doesn't come pain-free. And I'm not going to say that there isn't truth to that. There are difficult moments in relationships, but it doesn't have to be painful or traumatic. It doesn't have to be abusive. You don't have to feel constantly attacked or criticized. That is one version of reality, and you get to choose another one. So understanding your core beliefs, understanding your core beliefs and understanding how you see yourself, okay? Because manifestation is 3 things: how you see yourself, how you see the world, and how you see yourself in relation to the world. And what this means is, if you see yourself as someone who is not worthy of love, you cannot manifest love. If you see yourself as worthy of love, but you don't believe real love exists out in the world, then you're not going to manifest love. And if you see yourself as worthy of love and you believe that true love exists, but you're stuck on the assumption that it doesn't exist for you, that everybody else in the world gets to be happy in relationships except for you, then you're not going to get what you desire. And unfortunately for most of you watching, it's going to be 2 out of the 3, if not 3 out of the 3 of those beliefs that you have to conquer, which can feel really overwhelming right now. It can feel very stressful. It can feel so defeating and hopeless. But again, you are in this coaching container. You are here with me in this safe space to understand that that's not the case, that you can very well change all 3 of those assumptions, and all it takes is choosing. Life is not a test for you to pass. Life asks you every single day, who are you? What do you want to do? And how do you want to feel, basically? So every morning when you get out of bed, you get to decide, who are you going to be today? Who is she, right? That's my channel name. That's why we talk about self-concept and identity on this channel, because who you are is dictating what you get out of this experience. So when you wake up, you decide who you are. Then the next step is to decide, what are you doing today? If you are someone who is worthy of love, who is valuable, who is confident, who is smart, who is sexy, who is worthy of receiving good things, how are you going to move through life? And as you're choosing what do you do, well, a confident person is going to do things in a confident way. So it doesn't matter as much what you do, as much as it matters how you do it, how you show up in the world. As you go through your experiences, you have to know, you know what, I'm worthy of at least this. I deserve at least this much. I deserve at least a text every day from my specific person, if you're in the courting, dating phase or getting to know each other phase. I deserve at least to be complimented. I deserve at least to be spoken to calmly in times of conflict. I deserve at least a level of communication if something's going wrong. I deserve at least some forgiveness when I do make a mistake, because I'm human and everybody makes mistakes. So you set your baseline for what you deserve based on your self-concept. And then from there, again, as you're doing things and taking action that you feel inspired to take action, you're not forcing the action, you're doing them from that place of confidence and value. And then you have to ask yourself throughout the day constantly, this is mental diet, how do I want to feel? How do I feel right now, and how would I rather feel? So if you're manifesting a specific person and the circumstances are circumstancing and you feel like the world around you is on fire, how would you rather feel? If you're fighting with your specific person and you're angry with them and you're holding this resentment in your heart, how would you rather feel? Do you honestly want to be upset at them? Do you honestly want to be blaming them? Do you honestly want to be criticizing them? Or would you rather know that based on the law of assumption, they're only holding up a mirror to you. They're only reflecting what you believe to be true about yourself. So they can't help but respond that way. It's not their free will, it's not their choice to respond that way. What you're projecting outwardly is causing that. What you dominantly assume is causing that. So once we unravel the self-worth issues, then we can tackle those beliefs about true love doesn't last, true love doesn't exist, or if you're in a loving commitment, it has to be painful, or it's just never going to happen for me, or if it happens, it's going to be lost, or it can only be hot and cold, it can't be consistent. Whatever your beliefs are, that's what you're going to get. And once we get out of that chasing energy and we can be with ourselves, we can exercise these questions and change our mental diet and change our thought processes and release this need for control and manipulating of the situation, and just know it's gonna be fine. Everything is gonna be okay. Everything is working out for me. I get to have the love that I deserve. I get to show up in the world as this strong and confident person. I get to be successful in my relationships. I get to experience that. At the very least, I get to experience that. I deserve at least that much. And, that's the most beautiful place to be, is when you do finally know, you know what, I don't deserve to be talked to this way. So I'm going to do what it takes to make myself feel really good right now. And I'm going to do my best to change my assumptions right now. And I'm not going to go to my specific person and yell at them or fight with them or argue with them. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to know that if they are acting in any type of way, it's only coming from my own assumption. And so there's no one to change but myself. And if I feel desperate and clingy, there's no one to change but myself. And if I feel overly attached to the circumstances and I'm trying to manipulate the situation and I'm trying to argue with this person, I'm trying so desperately to get them to see my side, and it's not working. If that's where you've been, if those sound like your experiences, it means you need to pause, breathe, and surrender to where you are. Accept what the mirror is showing you and allow it to teach you. Allow it to change you. Allow it to motivate you to be a different version of yourself. And give yourself permission to believe and have hope that it is going to work out for you. I appreciate everybody here so much, and I would really love to hear your feedback in the comments and know that this message resonated with you today. I look forward to creating more content here in the Confidence Club, and I love having you. I am manifesting that each and every one of you gets to be your most confident and successful self, and you get everything you desire. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.